Well, hello and welcome to another episode of DCU Daily. We are back, and are we actually live? Let's see. Are we live?
We
Are we
are
live?
live. We are live.
Hold on, we'll try this again. All right, take two. Welcome back to another episode of DCU Daily. If you guys saw the first half of whatever that was, then welcome back. And if you didn't, then hello. It's a new week in the world of DC, and I'm sure in your world as well. Fuck the Penguin still. But we are here to talk about all the news that's going on around DC Studios. You know, whatever James Gunn said. And of course, there's rumors flying around that maybe indeed, Lobo may just yet debut in Supergirl Moment of Tomorrow. We're gonna assess the veracity of those claims, and we'll let you know what we think about it. And of course, you know, as always, I'm sure we're gonna get into your comments, and to do that and so much more, as always, with me, I've got John. How are you doing today?
Also, we were live, just letting you know. Anyway,
We
hi.
were okay. Sorry, it's just on
I
my
th-
end, it didn't look
I,
like
I
it.
think no, that was me the other day with Liz. I'm like, are we live? Because I got fucking logged out of YouTube. Not sure if we were live or not. Turns out we were. So we'll just cut it. We'll cut it in post. It's fine. But yeah, we. I am doing a lot better. I think I finally kicked this damn cold, maybe with the last remnants of it. But for the most part, I'm good. Having a lot of fun here,
Mm-hmm.
doing this lot of rumor mill stuff, but we can denounce them or put them up on a pedestal, but we'll see.
Denounce them, announce them, pronounce them. We will get into all of that, I'm sure. Speaking of, let's start with just if you guys missed all the big stuff, because basically last week started off with us talking about Creature Commandos is almost here, and you know the DCU is about to kick off, and then it just went into overdrive because James Gunn, you know, was doing all kinds of interviews, and of course, with every other word he says, he drops some knowledge that we have to then dissect for an hour. So there was so much happening. So I just wanted to do a quick review of everything that we discussed last week. Of course, Liz was on with you, John, and you guys talked at length about a lot of this stuff last week. So if you guys missed that show, or if you know you just went and had a rager of a weekend and you totally forgot what we talked about on Friday and Thursday, then here's a quick recap. So one of the big things that came out of last week was James Gunn talking about, hey, we are doing some pickup shots for Superman. No, they're not reshoots. You know, that was on the thumbnail, I know, but like, hey, we gotta get you to click on the video somehow. But also, you know, it was the speculation. Oh my God, are they going to reshoots? Oh no, the DCU is already fucked. Like, what's going on? Like, it's a legitimate concern, but like you know, James Gunn clarified it fairly quickly. He did it on his Threads account, and of course, you see here Deadline picked it up, and other outlets did. They're just to enhance the film. You know, there are no reshoots. He said it in his own words. He was like, sort of. Not a few days. We're doing a day and a half of pickup shots. No scenes, no reshoots. Just a handful of individual shots to enhance the film. So knowing that, I know you guys commented about it in on the video. There's some fun
Yeah, we're
comments.
retreading old ground. Do you
uh,
not trust us to deal with the news? Is that what you're
I'm just
saying?
Yeah, and then Jay was like, maybe they're just getting some thirst shots of Supergirl, you know, like Millie Alcock. I mean, you know, whatever floats your boat, Jay. But with that in mind, of course, let's move on to talking about a few other things. Again, just a little bit of a recap still, because I believe we talked about this last week. James Gunn also mentioned that he greenlit something else, and it's not even it's going into production next. When he says next, I imagine is going into production after, like you know, Supergirl and Lanterns, which are really on deck as the next couple of projects
Mm-hmm.
to go into production. So the you know he has mentioned before that he already knows what's going to come out after those, and it's
Yeah.
one of those unannounced things, which I'm like, but what about like Swamp Thing and the Authority and Booster Gold? But like he's
Now,
you know, and he's like, I can't quite tell you yet. He did say something about Booster Gold though. He was like, it's just not ready. It's the same for the Batman
here's the thing,
involver.
though.
So
He said we've
yeah,
greenlit something else. That doesn't totally mean he's greenlit an undisclosed
you know
project.
what? That's fair.
He
That
said
is
we've just
fair.
greenlit something else. So it's entirely possible that the next thing was just something. So Waller, Brave and the Bold, and Booster Gold are off the table. But that means, well, for the time being, but that means that the Authority, Swamp Thing,
Mm-hmm.
and Paradise Lost are still on the table. So Sure, it could mean an undisclosed project, but he never says undisclosed project. He just says we've greenlit another project. And I
That's
can
true.
imagine he's probably going to tell us sometime early next year, either after Lanterns and Supergirl goes into production, to like announce the next movie or show, and then or after like the whenever the Superman trailer comes out, which I imagine is February because of the Super Bowl.
So, do you think it is something like a season 2 of Creature Commandos then, like what Nelson mentioned?
That could be the case. I mean, but the way he made it
That would be very
something
cheeky,
else.
though. That would be very. I'm like,
To
I
be
feel like
fair,
James Gunn
that
doesn't insult
James Gunn does love to do that. He loves to tease his audience.
I know, but
So
I don't think he's one to insult the intelligence of his audience, right? Like, I don't think that would be a little like too cheeky.
unless you're talking about, gun haters who they'll say that he always insults the intelligence of the audience because his movies suck, you hack. So,
By the way, Nelson, Manos time. Sorry, I almost misquoted. Is it Man O time? Man OS time? I don't know. Or are you trying to say Man of Steel time? Because that's how I read it. But apparently Jeff Snyder, the one of the scoopers in Hollywood, he's got some news that he's going to be announcing soon. Which I guess whenever that happens, we will talk about it. If that's already out there, let us know. We'll go find it and talk about it. I didn't come across anything that he has said today. I know, of course, the big news of the day today. There's like two Disney things out there going on. You've got Jeremy, uh, Alan White. Is it? Wait, I just totally butchered his name, didn't I?
yes.
Where is it? Yeah, I
I'll
totally
wait for
butchered
you
his
to do
name.
it.
No, just Jeremy Allen White.
There you go.
Yes, Jabba the Hutt's son, Rada the Hutt, which is hilarious. The name is hilarious. The concept, we shall see how it works out. So there's that news gonna be in that movie, the Mandalorian movie, and of course, yeah, I know it's not DC, but Chris Evans coming back to Marvel to play some unknown character in Avengers Doomsday. Maybe he'll play Loki, or he'll play Tony Stark from that world that RDJ's Doctor Doom comes from. So we'll see. But hey, before we know it, like both Captain America, or formerly the artist formerly known as Captain America, as well as of course formerly known as Iron Man, are back in the MCU. I guess Marvel is that desperate after all.
Yep.
But Hunter Iggy's in the chat. Hello, Hunter. Sorry, no ladies on camera today, Hunter. But we'll get him back in the flow of things down the road, I'm sure. So Manos is saying, is Manos like OS and Lost? Huh? OS and Lost? Manos? I don't know.
Manos. I think he's saying
Manos?
lost. Manos.
Lost. Oh, Manos. Okay, Manos time. All right. Okay. Thank you for walking us. It's difficult, man. It's like it almost looks like a zero. Like I would trying to figure out like how to spell it or pronounce it. Nelson saying, I hope the next production is Waller or the Damascus show. Do you mean the Themyscira show?
I think he means Themyscira.
Themyscira.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I was like, yeah, that doesn't sound like anything that has been announced or was announced. Derpy's in the chat. Hello, Derpy. The seeds were planted on the Winter Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Oh, wait. What? Are you mixing things? Okay, sorry. You're probably commenting on the Steve Rogers situation. AKA Chris Evans being back with Marvel. All right, well, let's get back to the topics at hand. But it's good to check in with you guys in the chat, and of course, keep dropping your comments down below. Whether you're watching this live in the live chat or in the comment section, let us know what you think that project that James Gunn has greenlit that he doesn't want to tell us about is. Is it something that we don't know about? Is it that Teen Titans script that Anand Aguera was writing up? Is that finally been greenlit? Because James Gunn never said that it was greenlit before. We were just getting like that deadline insider sort of a confirmation that yes, she's working on it, but we never got any acknowledgement from James Gunn. So maybe it's that. He can't tell us about it yet, which leads me to believe that it's gonna be some sort of a spoiler. He said that even when he did the initial slate announcement a couple of years ago, where he was like, these are the projects that we can announce, and then like in the Q&A session he was like, well, there's others, but we can't really talk about them yet because then you'll get spoiled. So maybe it has something to do with the plot of Lanterns or like Superman, and we'll see. Like for example, even if Ultraman, the action figure was not a spoiler, it could be something related to that character, and officially we don't know if Ultraman actually is in the movie or not. So it's very possible that whatever has been greenlit now, we're not going to hear about until whichever, whether it's Superman or Peacemaker season 2, wherever that spoiler lies, until that project's out. So we'll find out. But then again, James Gunn might tell us before that. So this was, part of a bigger interview. Of course, he interviewed with Deadline, and that's where he mentioned it. And he also talked about what is when he'll direct again, and he's like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna take a bit of time off and take a step back from like working my ass off so hard. And then just again, I think he did this video interview where there's a quote where he's like, he's not gonna greenlight any movie without a third act. John, does that seem like a very pointed jab at anybody, or is he just generally saying we're not going to greenlight anything unless the script is done? Because saying greenlighting a script that we're not going to give something a release date without that script being complete and us being satisfied with it is one thing, but saying we're not going to greenlight a movie without a third act is a little more specific. Do you think he's pointing fingers at Marvel again, or is he just giving us some general good sage advice on what to do and not to do as a studio head?
Yeah, I think that's all it is. It just, he's just being like, hey, let's not just. I understand Iron Man was like a lightning in a bottle thing where it's like, okay, let's greenlight this movie, even though we technically don't have a script. So let's just go by the seat of our pants. And Robert Downey, I was thinking of Steve Rogers. That's why I said Roger. Robert Downey Jr. and his ad-libbing, and let's just go from there. But it worked there because you had Robert Downey, who was in the industry for so long, and he was the character, and it worked. Tony Stark built this in a cave with a pile of scraps.
Tony Stark built this in a cave with a pile of scraps. You gotta say it like he says it.
Man. No,
one of the best actors of our generation.
I mean, I have the look down. I don't even need
the old man. I do love Jeff Bridges. He's fantastic.
But it's you can't do that for every fucking movie. It's just we're gonna greenlight 1,000. We're gonna greenlight Blade, even though we can't put a handle on this fucking character that's been around since the 70s, and somehow can't make a fucking movie work that's just guy who kills vampires. Somehow can't fucking make that work. So we gotta really rack our brains with this one, and just can't fucking have 17 different directors leave, go through 9 different scripts. It's guys, what are we fucking doing here? Just fucking greenlight it when it's done. I don't understand that. What is this? What are we doing here?
I do think that what he's saying is in general good advice, because a lot of studios do this, in Hollywood, where they'll he mentions this clip that I'm playing here is from Collider, and it basically he talks about the idea that nowadays, back in the day, back in the 80s and 90s or whatever, Hollywood, they used to greenlight a movie when they really loved the script. Nowadays, movies are greenlit because they love the IP, and they're like, now put the script together, let's figure out a story to fit. It's sort of like what Sony does with their, what is that universe called? Sony, Spider-Man
verse,
the Sony Pictures universe of something. I don't know what that's.
Yeah, it's hell. They don't have a script when they finish filming the
exactly.
Fucking thing,
that's what I mean, right? It's they just are oh, you know what, Kraven, such a cool character. Oh, Aaron Taylor Johnson, greenlit. Now somebody go figure out how to write a script about this movie, and then
just
get a director off the street, and then let's just make the film.
Let's get the guy who did In a Violent Year to fucking, or what was that movie with Oscar Isaac? It was The Most Violent Year or whatever. He's directing it, I think, and it's just what are you doing, man?
At least the team behind this movie, the Kraven, is better than the Morbius, those guys.
Morbius or Madam Web.
Oh my god. Yeah,
well, it's not Waller. It can't, by the way, to the last comment, it can't be Waller because he said they're still working on Waller. So that's probably going to come out in 2027 or 2028 maybe, or late 2027. So I can imagine that'll be the case, but that's not, I don't think that's going to be the next big thing. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, you know what? It's fair. It's fair. And then in general, like I think the figure drawing is has put it very aptly. As far as greenlighting things without a third act, you don't want to jump the gun. You really want to get it right before you greenlight the project. And good pun there, figure drawing. We do appreciate a good pun here at Oh So Curious and DCU Daily. But no, this is great on the part of James Gunn because um, I personally am tired of seeing movies where it just. I mean, look, it's one thing when you do a Mission Impossible movie and you're really there for just the action, and so the story matters. But like, as long as like all the pieces fit, you're fine. Like, it doesn't need to be. Like, quite frankly, the last three Mission Impossible movies, if you asked me to describe the plot to you, I couldn't do that. I would just be like, oh yes, they're running from the train, then the bridge blows up, and then Tom Cruise is flying into a valley, and then he's on a chopper, and then like he's on the side of a plane, and then Jeremy Renner is there, and like there's like the Henry Cavill, the he pumps up his biceps, and there's a fight in the bathroom, and somebody dies,
Well,
and they catch the bad guy
okay,
in the end, like like that's basically it. But like, not every movie can
here's
be
the thing, though.
that.
In Fallout, they
So,
were trying to get a guy that released the names of agents, and he had this manifesto that was gonna he was gonna like take over, and then the last
but dude,
one is
it's like
about
when you go back to
an
the
AI that's gonna fucking
it's
take over the world if it gets released and might fucking cause us to go into World War III. That's what those movies are about, very generally. But yeah.
it just like, I feel like the
Also,
concept.
Derpy Entertainment said this as to why he trusts Gunn. He said the man said Taxi from the 70s is the best TV intro ever. It's like, okay.
Oh, like, a nerd wouldn't know something like that.
I mean, I don't know if Taxi's like a nerd thing. I mean, it was a pretty well-known TV show with well-known actors like
You
Andy
know what I
Kaufman
need?
and Danny
I feel like
DeVito and Christopher Lloyd. So
I feel like the Creature Commandos intro should have been based on the A Team. I think the A Team is under like maybe Paramount or something, so that you can't really do that. But unlike the A Team is one of those like underrated. Tony's the Sony Marvel universe is a lingering fart in a mandatory work meeting. That's a good
awkward way
way to
of
put
saying,
it.
interesting way of saying it, but it works.
Spoilers? What spoilers are we talking about? I don't know what you're talking about, Fiona. Um, Agent Venom film? I don't know. Is that announced? The Watcher is saying there's an Agent Venom. Agent? I don't know, man. Is that happening? That's a rumor. I don't think that's happening. Um, the Watcher saying, did y'all see that Josh at Den only OF nerds dyed his hair to look like Gunn because he lost his bet with his audience that Gunn was gonna release the trailer on the man? No, well, I mean,
Well,
that's
it's being reported that like maybe Sony is planning an Agent Venom movie, but it's like it's only based on like, well, Tom Hardy's not coming back for Venom, so they got to introduce Agent Venom, and it's like, okay, is that all you got?
I prefer Jared Leto. Yes, I wouldn't mind. I don't think Jared Leto's interested. You know where your Jared Leto cinematic universe is? It's moved over from Warner Brothers back to Disney. So when you go to watch the next Tron movie, just consider that the sequel to Morbius. Even though it's a sequel to the last two Tron movies, it's also a spiritual sequel to Morbius now. Uh, by the way, Cowboy Bebop, that's a great shout out there. The Creature Commandos intro does kind of remind you of that. That's fair. The Morbid, God, John, you have put together a very extensive. Did you put this
That's
together
not
or
me.
somebody
That's
else?
not
That's
me.
okay. Okay, Fiona. Like, my description of Mission Impossible was spoilers. All I did was tell you like the log line for every action sequence that Tom Cruise does. Tom Cruise
Oh,
on a
I
plane.
don't. By the way, Watcher, I don't
Yeah,
deny that Agent Venom is badass. It is a badass character. It just
yeah,
like it's like okay, yes. It just the reports of maybe it getting a movie is like
yeah.
very exaggerated just because like, oh, Tom Hardy's probably not going to come back. It's like, oh, Agent Venom is next. It's like, okay, I think that's just rumor and hearsay at this point, but sure.
Yep.
But I'll take your word for it. Agent Venom seems like a cool character. It's like Flash Thompson's redemption, I know, because he got like cancer and then He got injected with anti-venom, and then
I
it
mean,
became a hero.
but the question is, will he fit into the Morbius cinematic universe?
Yeah.
You know, I just love how quickly the stakes go up. It's like you go Morbius, Morbius 2, Morbius, get it? Morbius 3, Morbius versus Blade. Oh my god, you know what? I bet you Morbius versus Blade would come out before a Blade movie. Morbius versus the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I totally would pay for that. Morbius wins. Morbius wins. Yeah, I mean, you know what? Reboot the MCU. Morbius wins, and then Morbius just goes back to his universe again. Morbius 7, Morbius kills God. Like, that's my favorite title.
No, I like Morbius versus the DC Extended Universe. They bring back the Extended Universe for Morbius to fucking kill them. And then it's like
Morbius
across
the
the
series,
Morbiverse.
2032 to 2189, like that goes on for like another 50 years. Okay, Morbius
No,
11,
150 years.
150. Oh, I'm not even doing my math right. Morbius 12 Resurrection, the 13th. Morbiverse of Madness. Okay, this is really cool. I need like a 22 Jump Street end credit sequence for this. Like, you know, Morbius versus Jared Leto. Like, I want that. I would know what that would look like.
I love how in like there's still like 100 movies afterwards, but I love how in the 7th movie he kills God.
God, it's like, is this he kills God? It's just all downhill from
Caleb
there.
Underwood, Morbius versus Zack Snyder. Morbius wins. But it's
this
close.
Is perfect. It's so good. You guys should just hit the like button for that alone. Like, that's hilarious. Morbius kills God. That's fantastic. Morbius into the Morbin grid. Oh, I see what you did there. I mean, that is happening next year, Tony. Morbius is gonna be morbin into the grid. Actually, no, I think he morbs into the real world. That's the story of the movie. Son of Morbius? It will take us up to 2048. Oh, but you know what's perfect? Morbius 2049 in 2049. That is so good. The more
I like Morbius versus Jared Leto too. I think that was you know, the first one was like not great, but the second one really brought those.
No, but I want to see Morbius versus Jared Leto 3, the grudge match. Like, that's what I want to see, because like Jared Leto is gonna take it in the second one, and then they'll have to settle the score. But the Morptacular Morbius, that's when they like reboot it and they recast it. It's edgier, and you know, he's a teenager in high school, and there's a lot of emotions, and you know, like Morbius and Venom. We're gonna have to wait till 2053 for that. Oh my god, that's a long time. Morbius kills Venom. Okay, so it's Morbius and Venom, but then they don't like each other, so it's Morbius versus Venom, and then they really don't like each other, so Morbius kills Venom, and then we're like getting into Morbception. So Morbius, you know, has a dream within a dream within a dream, and then Morbius. I don't even know what Morbius gaming would be about at that point. Morbius says 11.
He becomes a Twitch streamer, and that's just the entire movie. He just streams. No, you know what it is? It's like a meta commentary on video games and movies, where it's just like a 3-hour movie where he's streaming a Morbius video game. But even though it's like, you know, he's playing the game, which is where it actually happens, it's really a commentary on our society that we really only care about Twitch streamers and not the actual gaming content. So it's like fucking like 15 like multiverses ahead of you. Like, that's what they're going for with Morbius gaming.
I'm just like Morbius 11, so he commits a galactic heist. Is that what that is? Morbius Folia do the musical. Oh, Caleb, you hit that on the okay. All right, so
Morbius and all the songs are 30 seconds to Mars.
30 seconds to Mars. No. This is going to be Morbius kills David Zaslav. Like, that's probably what
Morbius kills David Zaslav. Morbius kills.
Actually, but we do not. You know, no violence against executives of any kind here. That's not. We're not.
It's just like Morbius. Morbius goes into the real world and just murders everybody.
Oh god, that's too meta these days.
That's too meta.
That's too meta. Too meta, right? Yeah, I mean, I prefer that the franchise ends with Morbius and New Morb, and then that just is like, then Morbius just has his happily ever after. That's great. Morbius X. underrated. Morbius 9, that's probably where like, there's a bunch of humans that are refugees in a world full of Morbiuses, and it's about, human rights, and it's a commentary on society and just class warfare. I would like to watch Morbius 9. I think that would be good. Morbius 8, The Reckoning. Oh god, maybe Tom Cruise is in that one. Anyway, let's get back to the world of DC, shall we? Maybe Morbius will invade us in after he kills God in Morbius 7. So, okay. Speaking of God, Superman, the Christopher Reeve story, is over the weekend. It dropped on Max, so you can now stream it on Max and wherever that is available. I know Max is not available everywhere yet, so if you're watching, and Morbius 2 Electric yes, we need that.
I love how everyone's spelling Morbius wrong, but it's
is Morbius.
It's the French Morbius. It's Morbius.
Morbius. Morbius.
Baba booey.
Baba booey. Morbius and Oblivious. David How did this become about Morbius all of a sudden? I don't know. Electric Boogaloo.
I think Caleb mentioned it.
Are you snorting right now?
Madam Web versus Morbius. Yeah, Madam Web versus Craven, and then Madam Web versus Craven versus Morbius.
Yeah. Then Morbius kills God. Okay. I just love the how it's like there's a timeline of 50 Morbius movies, but in the 7th movie he kills God. And on the 7th movie, Morbius killed God.
And then he wrote, and then he became God, and just went into like several other.
Yeah. Morbius and Nacho Libre. I would appreciate that crossover. I wouldn't mind seeing that.
I mean, Jack Black is doing anything for money nowadays with Dear Santa and Minecraft movie, so he's ready to. He sold his soul a long time ago. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, Superman. Getting back to again, a godlike creature that exists in the world of DC, not Marvel or the Sony Universal Marvel characters or whatever you want to call it, SSMUCK, Spunk, blah blah blah. Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. If you haven't already seen it and you haven't already bawled your eyes out, it's on Max now, so you can watch it. And
now
if
you
live
can
abroad,
cry without. Now you don't have to cry from your wallet by paying $20 for it, but you can now just cry at the act of watching the film.
The act of watching the film, indeed. Well, let's keep the ball rolling because we do have a few other things to discuss. This is something I came across. I feel like this is a great topic for when we're doing a live show because this encourages debate. As you can see, I already commented in there with a laughing emoji because it's just ridiculous how these rankings work. And one of the comments is like, every year they put this list up and it keeps getting worse somehow. And so IGN basically put out a list of the best Batman movies ranked according to IGN.
Oh, God.
Whatever the
fucking
heck their
IGN
criteria is.
You know it's gonna be bullshit when it's IGN.
Well, you never know. But hey, right off the bat, I'm looking at it and I'm like, how is The Dark Knight Rises not as good as Batman Forever, Zack Snyder's Justice League, and Batman the movie?
Because Batman Forever's goated. That's why.
But it's not the same level. I mean, this was weird. And Batman v Superman, okay, but it's also got Superman in it.
But it's like, why is Zack Snyder's Justice League there? That's not even a fucking Batman movie.
Both of them are in there. I know they're pretty far down the list, but okay, let's go a little further up the list because I feel like the top 6 or 7 is really where we're gonna have a little bit of a disagreement probably. The Dark Knight, I think, at the top is perfect. The Batman being 2, fine by me. Batman Begins.
Mask of the Phantasm is the best one out of all of these, honestly. Honestly, the Lego Batman movie and Batman the movie are the 3 best Batman movies. Theatrically released.
I think Batman, the Lego Batman movie should be higher. I think Mask of the Phantasm probably is okay where it belongs. And even though I'm a Christopher Nolan Batman fan, I don't know if Batman Begins is a top 3 Batman movie. I would feel like Batman Begins maybe is in the top 7, but not top 3. The 1989 Batman, on the other hand, I wouldn't mind putting
Bottom.
that up a little
Batman
bit.
Returns. Bottom.
So,
Worse than Batman and Robin.
you know what? I would bring Batman and Robin to maybe number 7.
You know what? I would
mind
bring
that.
Batman and Robin into the Morbius verse so Morbius can kill them.
Morbius and Mobius worlds collide in the Matrix. Oh, I see what he did there. Because it's Morbius and he's Mobius. Oh yeah, like a good one. See, the Watchers got the good ideas today.
Isn't it Morpheus?
No, but isn't Mobius like the guy who came up with like the strip that Tony Stark uses for his
Oh
time
yeah, the
travel
Mobius
ideas?
strip. Okay,
The
yeah,
Mobius strip, yeah. Jack Black would make a great Joker for the DCU, according to Nelson. I mean,
yeah. I also
sure.
love the Watcher. You can't spell ignorance without IGN. Love it, love it. We love to see that. Love it. We love you, Watcher. We love that so much.
And I mean, Nelson's saying Samurai Batman is the best. I mean, Samurai Batman is good.
I will say,
know if he's
which
up there.
Which one are you talking about? Are you talking about? Oh, you're talking about Batman Ninja. I never watched it. It looks stupid. I like I will say Batman Soul of the Dragon, fucking underrated as shit. I still want to see a sequel. God damn it. Soul of the Dragon was like so good. I did not expect that movie to be as good as it was. Honestly, I think that's better than Mask of the Phantasm. There, I said it. Don't at me.
You know, of the animated movies don't always really hit as well for me. To me, the best animated Batman movie is the Lego Batman movie. I just think that's above all. Like it just does such a it just does commentary in a way that just works for me. Like it's meta, it works, it's deep, and yet it's very, you know, it's very
somebody
like
even joked
it works.
That
it just
on the big screen, that's the closest we'll ever get to Frank Miller Batman, with how much he tried to fucking kill Robin in that and like destroy, like how much he wanted to fucking kill Robin throughout that entire movie. Honestly, with prep time,
it's possible. It's possible.
What were we even talking about? Like, what were we talking about? Like, I don't even know.
Batman Returns is, I mean, you know what? Okay, Watcher, Batman Returns is technically better than Batman and Robin, but in terms of just entertainment value, I prefer Batman and Robin. So, okay, Nelson's just trolling us now. He's like, Super Pet should be number 1. No, it should not be number 1. Super Pet should
Jimmy Kimmel as Batman
be in the top 50. I personally would agree with what Shivansh is saying in the chat in the comments. He's like, the Dark Knight Rises should be ranked a lot higher. I don't know why people don't get that movie. Exactly, dude. Come on. You got Bane in there.
Black Adam should be number 1. I mean, the hierarchy of the DC universe changed, my guy.
It did, except Batman wasn't even in the movie. It changed so drastically. Batman wasn't in the film.
Oh yeah, Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, but I don't think that was theatrically released. Yeah. So.
Well, let's move on. I mean, we were moving on from the Batman, and we're gonna talk about, you know, fuck the Penguin. So let's talk about that for a second.
Well, not fuck the Penguin, because he's doing really good for himself. He mixed the flavors.
Got
himself the Golden Globe.
It's not just good. It's better. It's better. You just gotta mix the flavors. You know, it's just better. And you gotta.
Why are you doing Fred Gwynn from Pet Sematary?
I can't. I'm trying to do the accent.
Good. It's better. You know, you gotta mix the flavors. You gotta mix the flavors. They're good. It's better.
I'm out of practice. I haven't been doing this for a few days.
I'm also, you know, my heritage is Italian, so
it just works. Like, I might as well not be good at it.
I'm already a fat guy with a shit haircut and weird pimple scratches on my face, so it works for me. So I know how to do it.
Exactly. I think we have a. Where was that comment from the other time? Oh, here it is. I don't know if Hugo Millie's in the chat right now, but Hugo,
I don't think so.
You go. This one's for you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. take the pizza. Q-tip.
Yep.
Q-tip.
I bet you that's what the Penguin is doing right now because he's celebrating all the success that's coming.
Yeah, he's celebrating with a nice pizza. Mix the toppings, mix the flavors. I did have pizza earlier today, so.
By the way, Nelson gave the show 8.5 out of 10. I thought the show was maybe even like a 9.2.
I would say it's a 9, maybe 9.5.
Yeah, well, we were in the same neighborhood. I think that's it's up there. It's quite frankly one of the best shows of the year, if not the best. And Ron with a very good question.
I don't think it would win. I didn't see all of the nominations, but I could see it winning maybe one of the actor awards, like either Colin Farrell or Kristen Milioti. I don't think it would win Best Limited Series. I would love it to, and if it won, I would be more than happy. It's just, I like, I'm so apprehensive when it comes to superhero stuff because one, I don't want to get myself excited because it's like it's superhero. Yeah, it's not superhero things, but it's still comic book stuff, and there's still not a lot of respectability there unless it's some guy playing the Joker where he nearly fucking kills himself on screen because of fucking mental illness and all that shit. But like outside of that, there's not really like a ton. It's either Joker or like Black Panther. It's like that's I feel like that's it.
Well, just to kind of quickly go over what you see on the screen, because if you're listening to this, you might be like, what are we talking about? So the Penguin received 3 nominations at the Golden Globes this year. So the Golden Globes, they happen during the award season. So that's coming up now. We're getting closer and closer to when those ceremonies will pick up. The Golden Globes usually happen a little bit before the Oscars. The Oscars really wrap up the season, but the Golden Globes are usually what help kind of kickstart it. So we're still a few months away, but they did put out the nominees. So the Penguin has been nominated in the categories for Best Limited Series, as well as Best Actor in a Limited Series for Colin Farrell, and then Best Actress in a Limited Series, Kristen Milioti. Now, of course, the fact that it's all of these categories are limited series does lend more credence to the idea that, hey, it is indeed a limited series. But then again, the Golden Globes don't really matter all that much because, it's like 100 people voting on them, not like the Oscars where the Academy's got like several thousand people in the jury. But still, the Golden Globes do have a certain level of prestige and value attached to them. They could be good predictors for other awards in the award season, such as the Emmys or the Oscars. In this case, of course, The Penguin is a TV show, so it's going to be more recognized at the Emmys. And to answer Ron's question, I think, in my opinion, Shogun is going to win that limited. Actually, you know what? No, because Shogun is technically not a limited series anymore because they're doing another season. So I bet you if Shogun is not in that category, then The Penguin does win. I do think The Penguin is the best limited series that we had this year. Like,
and it's Shogun funny because that might get a season 2. It's just the season 2 is not greenlit.
It just didn't, right? So. And then Shogun, we know we don't just have one more season coming up. We have like 2 seasons greenlit. So like that is definitely not a limited series anymore. Yeah. It's but Fallout is not a limited series either, Manos. So Manos, I'm still getting your name right, man. The Watcher saying, when is it releasing there? Oh, you mean as in Canada? Yeah, let us know, Ron. Why is the Penguin not out in Canada yet?
Here's the thing, though. You also have monsters, and to be fair, a lot of people like true crime stuff. And there's also Baby Reindeer, those 2. And both my parents watched Disclaimer and said it was like one of the best things they've watched all year. So I don't know. It's pretty stiff.
I think you will enjoy the first few episodes of Disclaimer, John. The rest of the series.
Why you gotta say it like that? Why that like I don't know. I just the funniest thing is when it came
you want to know why I say stuff like that?
I assume because there's naked women and you're thinking I'm a pervert or something.
This is your wisdom.
That's what I'm assuming.
I'm just saying the words on screen are wisdom that came out of your mouth. So
I'm just all right. Anyway, I'm just saying. But the thing that made me laugh when a friend of mine sent this, where The Substance got nominated for Best Musical or Comedy.
Oh, dude,
and I'm
yes.
like, that movie is not a fucking comedy. I'm like, bro,
it's definitely not a musical. It's like, what the fuck? that is
The Substance is not a fucking comedy. It's like The Martian getting it, but at least The Martian
it's a very
had
dark
some comedy in it. but the
Yeah.
substance is not a fucking comedy. So it's like, I mean, I wish the best for it. It's not going to win anything, but like, I wish it the best because the substance was amazing. But it was just like, whoa, like, guys, come on.
But they do that like every year. There's every year the Golden Globes have something that doesn't belong, right, in a category. Now, of course, this isn't the only set of award nominees that the Penguin has gotten in recent times. I do want to get into
the entire, because I'm looking at the nominations right now, and I'm looking at Best Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy. Like, half of these are not comedies. Well, Wicked makes sense because that's a musical, but I don't think Honora is a comedy. I don't think Challengers is definitely not a comedy. I don't think Amelia Perez is a comedy either. So it's just like, I think musical or comedy is just where just the dumping ground where they stick all these movies that don't fit into like the prestigious dramas that get nominated.
Right. Yeah.
It's just like, it should just be Best Motion Picture, not drama. That's what they should change it to. It's drama and not drama, because musical or comedy just doesn't make sense anymore. It's crazy.
I think they've been using it as a dumping ground for a long time because, and it's also, I think initially probably started because they couldn't have enough to fill a category properly. So, we got 7 in the other one, put like 2 of them here. Whatever. By the way, Ron has got a poll for us up in the chat asking about Dan versus the Penguin. Who will win? You guys let us know. You can vote on that. Emilia Perez is a musical, says Manos Time.
Oh, it's a musical. Okay.
I haven't seen it, so I wouldn't be able to comment on that. What I will be able to comment on, however,
I will say Challengers is definitely not a comedy. I know that. That's
I was watching a podcast and they were like, "Oh, I don't know, music threesomes are hilarious." I'm like,
I mean, the most hilarious thing to come out of that is Tom Holland seeing his girlfriend get spit roasted on screen. But outside of that, I don't think that that clarifies it as a comedy, though.
Well, there you go, John. That's why I think you would appreciate the first few episodes of Disclaimer. You have made the point for yourself. But James Gunn congratulating Lauren LaFranc, Matt Reeves, and then Dylan Clark, as well as Colin Farrell, Kristen Milioti, and all the incredibly talented people who brought this wonderful show, The Penguin, to life. And of course, we already talked about the 3 Golden Globe nominations that the show has gotten. It's also gotten 4 Critics' Choice Awards nominations. So this is something that's a little less known because most people don't watch the Critics' Choice Awards. But of course, to all the critics out there who are part of the jury, these are the same critics we look to for reviews for movies and TV shows. So they also get to vote on this. And they chose to put The Penguin amongst the best limited series as well. And then also Best Actor for Colin Farrell, Best Actress for Kristen Milioti, and then Best Supporting Actress in a limited series, Deirdre O'Connell. That's Mama Penguin, or I forgot what her name was, but Penguin's mom, essentially in the show.
His lover, essentially, because bro has an Oedipus complex.
Except that she hates him, which is one of the most disturbing. That's still one of the most disturbing scenes that I've seen for any TV show. It's just like, oh my god, the watcher's like Marma Penguin. Yeah. Very.
Is she made out of marmalade? What?
I don't know, man. Challengers is both a comedy and musical according to their. Thank you, Caleb. Thank you. You can call me whatever way you want. I don't mind. Oh, okay, Manos. Thank you. I will do my best to pronounce it the way you like to have it be said. Did he kill his brothers? You know what, Nelson? You're gonna have to watch the show to find out. Ron saying, once I get a VPN, I should connect to Australia, make an account, and binge streaming service called. Oh, it is on Binge. Yes, The Penguin. You can see not on. By the way, Max is coming to Australia in the new year, if I remember correctly. So you may not have to, ride the high seas for that anymore in the future. Yeah. Man of Steel Magnolias here. Hit that like button, as we all should. Hell yeah, Man of Steel Magnolias. That's a really cool username, man. Really love that username. Always have. Do we still have your comment from before? Man of Steel Magnolia.
It might have gotten deleted or accidentally deleted.
Man. All right. Well, you know what? We're going to bring you a new one. Yes, Max is coming to the UK and Ireland in 2026. It's just, it takes a while. And you know what? It takes a while. It's because...
Oh, I just noticed Palm Clemente commented on this.
Oh, she did? Oh
Yeah, the
yeah, Three
emojis.
Billboards. Okay, well, you know what? She's one of the James Gunn regulars, so it makes sense.
Oh my
Now,
god, guys, this totally means she's gonna be in the next DC project, guys. That's totally what this.
yeah, exactly. Like this is exactly why she was on James Gunn's
An
profile.
entire 4-hour podcast about this.
We're gonna fan cast what characters Palm Clementif can play in the DCU. Now that's what we're gonna do. Um,
Even though didn't we already do that?
did
I think
we?
we
I don't.
did.
I don't
I
know.
don't know.
Well, I don't think it was Palm Clementif and 5 characters. It was more like whatever. I think we said that she could play a character or two in the DCU. Now, of course, the Penguin also is part of the AFI Television Program of the Year list. So it's one of, I believe, like a dozen. So this is something where the AFI, as in the American Film Institute, they'd put out a list every year where they honor the best, what they consider to be, in no particular order, the best movies and TV shows of the year. So here we have got that on the screen. Of course, in terms of motion pictures, you've got movies like Conclave, Dune Part 2, Nickel Boys, A Real Pain, Sing Sing Wicked, The Brutalist, Anora, Complete Unknown, Emilia Perez. Yeah, that could work. That could work. By the way, special award to Baby Reindeer, which I think is also warranted. And then for AFI television programs of the year, you've of course got some of the usual suspects like Abbott Elementary, The Bear, aka the son of Jabba the Hutt, Hacks, which continues to do really really well. That show, if you haven't been watching it, it's on HBO. You can see it on Max. Check it out.
Never fucking heard of it.
It's got Gene Smart in it. You'll really enjoy it. I think you will love it.
Bro, I got like 7. I haven't started For All Mankind yet. Like you gotta like.
You know what, man?
Break.
You need to just catch up on your TV. We'll go watch the disclaimer.
I'm in the middle of my fucking 2024 catch up. I'm in the middle. I was just watching Rebel Ridge, which by the way, Rebel Ridge really fucking good, and just it sees how Jon Stewart is really Aaron Pierre is getting in that role, and you know what, he sold it most definitely. It's a really good movie. It's not like the greatest thing ever, but it's really good. Also, Anna Sophia Robb, I haven't seen her in a hot minute, and she's really good in that too. So yeah.
Yep, I like your choice.
And Don Johnson.
No, but
Don Johnson. But if you like Miami Vice, there you go. Don Johnson plays a good asshole in it. So
yep.
And David Denman, who's going to be in Peacemaker season 2.
Yes, he will be.
Who always plays an asshole because that's his shtick, I guess. He plays an asshole.
I mean, dude,
in this movie too.
If you try to punch Jim in The Office, you're gonna be an asshole for the rest of your career. That's basically, you get typecasted as that. But I did want to mention some of the other shows here. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which I don't know if this show is as good as it's been getting credit for, but then again, I might be one of the few people who didn't like it as much. Nobody Wants This. That show has just been sensational in terms of just the incredible following it's got on Netflix. And of course, then you have Shogun, you have Shrinking, which nobody tells me anything but amazing things about Shrinking. It's on Apple TV Plus.
Yeah,
it's got Harrison Ford in it.
Said it was great.
It's fun. It's not even like an hour-long thing, so you can get through each episode in like half an hour. So that's a show you should definitely check out because you'll be able to get through it pretty quickly. It's not like they have so many episodes a season and they're only like 30 or so minutes a piece. So it's easy to watch. It's enjoyable. It will make you cry. It will make you laugh. True Detective Night Country. And then, of course, The Penguin. So it's to me, this list is all about the company you keep. And The Penguin is in really, really good shape because it's got shows like Shrinking, Shogun, The Bear, Abbott Elementary, Hacks. Hacks won an Emmy this year. Abbott Elementary has won it before. The Bear won an... It's like, these are Emmy winning. Shogun practically sweeped every category that it was nominated in. And The Penguin is in that same category. I think, to me, of all those shows, The Penguin is at least in the top 3. I would put, in no particular order, Shogun, The Penguin, and then I would put up there alongside those two. It's a little difficult for me to kind of pick between Hacks and The Bear, but and they're also like really different.
I would say Hacks because The Bear season 3 fucking sucked. I'm gonna say that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a step down.
I will say season 1 was so like fucking fantastic, and then they dropped the ball. Season 2 was like fine, but it wasn't great. And then season 3 was just an onslaught of crap. Like, I'm still going to watch the final season because it's the final season. Like, I only have to deal with this bullshit for fucking 8 more episodes or whatever. So, like, all right. Oh, same with Stranger Things. Like, the last 2 seasons fucking sucked. But, like, all right, it's the final season. Might as well just fucking watch it. But I just, like, The Bear was just, like, so... Because, like, the thing that and feel free to disagree or agree or whatever. The thing that I liked about the bear was like it was this fucking Michelin star chef working in a
Hmm.
fucking sandwich shop. Like that was like the
That
draw.
was that
Like
was the
that was
pitch.
like it
Yeah.
was like the contrast between his training, what he did like around the world, going to like Copenhagen, all the like French restaurants, being like butchered by Joel McHale, all this other shit. And then he's like working in his brother, the Punisher, his brother's fucking sandwich
John
shop. So
Bernthal.
it's like
Yeah.
that's what made it work. And then season 2 like had a lot of good aspects to it. Like it had like I liked the relationship, and there was some good development here and there. It just season 3 there was just I didn't care about anything, and then it's just like okay, it's just him being in his environment and he can't handle it. That's like
It's
okay, that's like kind of interesting, but like I don't know. It's just like then there was like the huge cliffhanger at the end of season 2 that was like that with the relation. I'm like, oh my god, how is the relationship gonna go forward with the Jeremy Allen White and Claire? And they didn't even touch on that. I was like, that was the one thing I gave a shit about, and they didn't
yeah.
touch upon it
That
at
was a
all.
little
And it's like,
disappointing. It's because people like latch onto that stuff and they want to know like where that's going, and for them
yeah,
to not really
exactly.
address it,
It's just like it was just so
it's
not. And then like the whole episode in regards to Sugar's pregnancy, I'm like, why the fuck do I care about this? Like, I love Jamie Lee Curtis. I love seeing Jamie Lee Curtis. It's just like, why is she here? Why do I give a fuck about this pregnancy? It's just I don't give a fuck. Like, what am I watching? And it was just not good. It was not good.
we got, by the way, Lenny in the chat. She's asking, are you
No, we're not
finishing
finishing.
soon?
We're probably going to be on for another 3 hours. So like, you're
But
good.
we have been live for like almost an hour, just letting you know. But like we will probably be here for a little while longer. I will say the Bear to me in some ways feels like it's a show that sort of has outlived its premise,
Yeah.
and purely just like what the core pitch for that was versus what it is today. Because that's a show that could have really just been a limited series and would have been perfect. Or the original pitch works better if you turn it into an actual comedy, and let it be like a sitcom almost, in a manner of speaking. It could be a Gilmore Girls sort of a show. I'm not saying you need a live audience with a laugh track, but yeah. So still, it's one of the best TV shows on air. So alongside, of course, The Penguin, which is when you look at a lot of these shows, a good chunk of them, it's not their first season. True Detective been around for a while. Hacks been around for a while. The Bear, Abbott Elementary. Of course, you do
Which
have
also has a crossover episode with us. It's Always Sunny coming out soon.
yes,
I think this season.
that's gonna be a fun watch for sure. And then of course you have like a few shows in there like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which is associated with some IP from before. Shogun, of course, the first season. So for the Penguin to kind of like be in that same conversation, again, you're elevating the genre. You're doing a great job. And even though I just hate what he did to Wick at the end of that show, I can admit that it was good writing. So whatever. And especially after you guys just completely gave me no chance. It's like in the poll, like 10%, 10% of you think that I will win in a fight against the Penguin. Like, what are you showing me? Like, seriously, I can do
What
better
are you
than that.
showing
I
me?
don't
What are
get
you
it. Like,
showing
the Penguins
me?
got a 70% chance apparently, and then 20% of you at least are like, it's a tie. So thanks for being a little kind. I guess it's a 70-30. Like for me, I'll just count the tie as like, we go into overtime and then I beat him to the bone. So like um Ron saying fuck the Penguin won the poll, so that might be a win for you, Dan. You know what? That's a good way of looking at it. That is a good way of looking at it. If you are in the live chat, then yes, I did put like in parentheses, fuck the Penguin. So maybe that means like they were voting for me in spirit, regardless of which option they were choosing. So it's all win 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 for me. Now, of course, win 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 is what seems to be going on with Superman nowadays, because if you are or will be at the Tokyo Comic Con, you will come across what looks like a promotional standee for Superman. And now we're starting to see more and more of this. We saw some merchandise at CCXP last week that y'all talked about on the show when Liz was on. And we're starting to get a better idea of maybe what some of the marketing is going to look like. Still a little early. They're not really giving away any artwork beyond just the logo. but at the very least, we're starting to get a sense of what maybe the font is going to be for the movie. Like the Superman, like is obviously different from what we got in Man of Steel. You still have that little bit of like metallic gradient on it. I do enjoy that.
If this is real, that is, yeah.
Right, but I mean, it lines up with what we've been seeing at CCXP. That merchandise is
Although
real.
we
So
see Aquaman's Quindent in the background a little bit.
yeah, that's probably another display because like you can see the Warner Brothers logo being projected onto the floor there. So
I just noted.
Sure.
I just thought that was cool.
Yeah, and actually that trident is also the one from the Justice League movie.
It's a Quindent. It has 5 spokes.
Okay,
it's not a
trident.
Got
it. I'm sorry. Whatever, man. It's a.
I'm just saying. Everyone's like, oh, it's a trident. No,
Morbius killed God. Like it's like it is what it is.
Morbius killed Jason Momoa and Aquaman and his Quindent.
Yeah, that could be a thing. Morbius kills Aquaman, and then the sequel is Morbius kills the Flash. And
I think Liz would.
And
be
then
happy
James
with
Gunn
that.
reboots the DCU.
I think Liz would be happy with that, considering how much she hates Aquaman.
I just don't get it. Like I enjoyed the first movie.
The first movie's fucking great. Like that shit was fucking amazing. I love that shit. Like it was like a proper adventure movie. I love that. Do you think Creature Commandos will have a tragic end? I mean, could be. Just hopefully in future episodes.
I guess it depends on who you're talking about.
But like, you know.
It just depends on what you're talking about, because I mean I feel like it's one of those shows that's like the Suicide Squad where some characters will go on to do bigger, better things. Other characters will not survive. So it just depends on who you're rooting
Weasel
for.
Dies. Fuck Weasel. He's not nothing character. He's just like, please, just get rid of him.
By the way, I don't know what you mean, Ron, by the comic logo. Are you talking about? Are we gonna get into this whole debate again, like what we did last week? Like, is it like the logo? Are you talking about the Christopher Reeve logo? Which version of the logo do you want to see? Because I personally this particular Superman logo is different from pretty much every Superman logo that we have gotten in the movies in the past, but especially because it's more of like hard, like there's not 90-degree angles, but like sharp edges rather than like all smooth flowing curves. So that's the biggest difference. But honestly, you get used to it pretty quickly because it is still quintessentially a Superman logo, and it does come from a version of the comic books. So it's not like they invented this logo just for the movie. So I'm okay with it. I personally, I think it's grown on me over time. So, yeah, it's grown on me. Maybe like over time, it will just become normal. Like you get used to seeing it. So. Lenny, it hits everybody differently, right? Like you might not have loved Aquaman, other people did. Like it made $1 billion, so at least the first one did. So, with that in mind, of course, John, we have to move on to our main story of the day. I know we've already been here for like an hour, but it turns out we still have more to talk about. There's a story going around, a rumor, as it were. James Gunn is a kitty director after watching episode. Yes. If you saw,
episode 2. I meant it was meant to be episode 2. So there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we had to change your emoji because I don't think those emojis we have those, but those are I really like those. I don't know what those are from, but they're really cool.
Those are YouTube emojis. Like you only get them in the YouTube chat.
Okay. But yeah, they're really cool, by the way. Anyway.
Yeah.
And by the way, Lobo. Hey.
Yes. So there's a rumor. This is from My Time to Shine, which honestly, My Time to Shine's record is really not that good. So take it with the biggest
grain
of salt
giant
that you can think of.
Salt lick out, and how it's most likely bullshit.
But essentially, the report was Lobo will make his DCU debut in Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. So we've talked. This has come up before. We have speculated about this. But John, now that we're getting close to the movie actually entering production, do you think it is realistic to see Lobo in the movie at all? And if he was in the movie, is it going to be a little cameo, like they just meet up at a bar and Supergirl's trying to get drunk?
Yeah, he might be in like the background or something. Like it's just an unknown actor. He's a muscular dude. We just see the dreads and the gray skin. And like that's it. Like he's just in the background. I think that's like the most we would get if he's in, because it's like they're less than a month away from filming, so maybe they'll do that for the movie. Maybe like he'll finally go back and like maybe he was talking with Anna Naguera and he's like, hey, I really wanted to include Lobo, and maybe James Gunn gave him carte blanche, or as Channing Tatum calls it, Cate Blanchett. that he's like, okay, you can use Lobo now. He's like, okay, and Naguera I wanted to include Lobo. Can you include Lobo? She's like, yeah, I got you, man. And then included Lobo.
I mean, Lenny, I think you'll just dehydrate yourself doing that. Please don't do that.
Well, an Epsom salt bath can be very relaxing.
Actually, you know what? Yes, I guess it does depend on the type of salt bath.
But like, you're not. No, Lenny, you're not having a salt bath. You're gathering the salt, every instance of salt on this universe, in the universe, and putting it. That's the amount of like grain of salt. Just like put it into one grain of salt, and that's the amount of salt that is. You have to take in order with this news, because it is mainly most likely bullshit.
By the way, Caleb, I think Caleb's you might agree with his take on
Hobo. Yeah. Well, yeah, because it's just like, no, Lenny, I just agree with you. It's just, it's just like news. You could just say news and like have just like half this thing of selling something is confidence. It's just like you just have the like, here, it's happening, and then you'll get like tons of clicks. Obviously, it worked because we're talking about it, right? So it's just like, it's most likely bullshit. It's like, I'm 99% sure it's bullshit. Would I want to believe it's true? Yes. Am I happy to prove it's wrong? Yeah, I'm ignoring that. Would I be happy for it to be proven wrong or to be proven right and I'm wrong? Cool. Yes. I'd love to see Lobo. Lobo's great, especially if played by Jason Momoa. But I'd love to see it, but I just can't see this being. It's just like some scooper. And James Gunn just said this a couple weeks ago. Like, don't believe these guys. It's fucking bullshit. Yeah, incredibly salty convo. Incredibly salty.
So salty, John went mute. John didn't go mute. He was talking. Maybe you heard the music, but
no. It's just what I need to do. You know what I need to do is like just grab like a Morton salt and just start pouring it into the cup while we talk about this, and just like
that is actually
this
a
is
great
the amount of salt we
demo.
need.
Yeah, we should do that. Yep. Mm-hmm.
We need to film it so that I'm not wasting salt every time.
Well, no. What you gotta do is in between when we actually talk about it, and then the next time we do it, you just gotta then dump it all. The trick is you're gonna then have to take a mug full of salt and dump it back into the salt hole. Like it's just that's gonna maybe you get like a little paper funnel, and then like so that way you refill it, and then we'll reuse and recycle. We don't want to waste that salt after all. We're gonna have to save it for the bath that Lenny was planning on taking.
As long as it's Epsom salt. Epsom salt's good. I have this actually really good like Epsom salt, like lavender stuff that's very relaxing. It's good for the muscles and joints. Very nice.
Yep. I mean, hey,
salty convo is another merch idea. Write it down.
We're gonna save that one. We're moving that into the saved section.
We got Harvey Dent as a dick. We got I wrote something down. I forgot where.
You know what? I think this is also gonna be in there. I think Morbius 2 Electric Boogaloo needs to be a poster that we will make, and we'll put it on a T-shirt, and you can get it.
No, we need to like
spread,
No, we need to have like the entire Morbius like cinematic universe as a shirt. It's just like the never-ending cinematic universe.
You know what it is? What got me the most about that like whole Morbius universe is
kills
like
God.
The Morbius kills, but like every time I say it, Morbius kills God. I remember that East-West Bowl from Key and Peele, where one of the players is like God, like it's like his name is God. God, like when I forget what university he goes
Jarvis to. Fudge.
It's just so good. It's like God. Something
Ron
University.
University of Tennessee.
Oh my god! I have to remember what those were.
Harvard University, DeVry University.
DeVry University. X-Wing at Alicia's.
I remember me and my dad were like showing my mom like that entire clip, and both of us were laughing our asses off, and she was just like stone faced. She was like, "Okay, this." She
doesn't get it. She doesn't get it.
She's like, "This isn't funny," and I'm like, "No, it's so funny." She's like, "Well, if you think so." I don't think it'll be Jason Momoa. That's just my fan casting because I think he has the body shape and the like look and the acting ability for it. So I think he'd be perfect for it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's, by the way, God went to homeschool. God, homeschooled. Like, I remember that was a nobody has said, by the way, James Gunn has not said that they haven't gone through that casting process. Even though it may be perfect, you can't just. I'm still of the opinion that there's a chance somebody else plays Lobo, or we don't get Lobo for quite some time. So it's possible. Like, by the way, my percentage went down. It's 9%. 9% to beat the Penguin? Come on, guys. But okay, at least the tie went up. So, like, 927.
Yes.
It's still.
We did hear
Overall,
about this.
yeah.
It was kind of mentioned in Creature Commandos, but it's mainly like it's one of those things like, oh yeah, sure, Themyscira exists, but like, it's so. I think James Gunn confirmed that Wonder Woman is like established, and that the DCU population, some of them believe it, but most don't. That it's like not actually real, even though it was on a news report, like. I mean, to be fair, it's news. Nobody believes the news anymore.
No, but here's the thing. I will say this though. It was between him and then what was it? Dean Lowry, the showrunner of Creature Commandos. They were interviewing together.
Dean Lowry, yeah.
Dean Lowry. They were purposefully vague, and Dean almost stopped himself to be like, "Why don't you talk about it, James?" Because he didn't want to necessarily give away the wrong details. And also probably because he doesn't know exactly which way they go with the
canon. Then, like, I bet James Gunn, like, gave him a look. I'm like, there's a reason my name is James Gunn. All right, watch it, boy.
Watch it. It's just he's got a gun like under his like coat jacket, just poking the side.
He has like sternum. One of those like what are those things from Assassin's Creed, like the blade? Yeah, it's with a gun.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's like
or the little James Bond one, which kind of like fits in your hand. It's like the little.
Or it's the one from Blood Debts where it's like a little thing and it's like actually a bazooka. So. Got it. Well, look up Blood Debt's ending. That's a great fucking ending.
What I was just gonna say though is I do remember that was, I believe, part of the Rotten Tomatoes interview, or it was part of like the Happy Sad Confused one. I don't actually think it was Happy Sad Confused because it was the both of them, and only James Gunn himself was on with for Happy Sad Confused. But anyway, basically he was purposefully vague, and he did say, James Gunn said that, hey, admitting that they haven't quite thought all of that through yet, but then the rest of his answer was pretty vague and saying, hey, look, I think they're aware of it, but he definitely stopped short of saying whether the world actually has met Wonder Woman or not. He just sort of said they're aware of this island of like, but they're not like really sure. They think it's a myth, which is similar to how it was treated in the first movie when like the Germans discovered it in World War One, and they're like, what is this place? Obviously, it's like hidden away with like some kind of cloaking technology or whatever it is. But yeah,
I think so. Yeah, Lenny's saying like that he has greenlit 2 projects. Yeah, that's what is on the screen right now, and I think. And we were talking about this before. You missed it. You weren't here, so we'll just reiterate. Now, a lot of people drew the conclusion that it's another project that has not been announced yet because like, oh, we've greenlit something, but he never really in this quote, right? Whoa, that was a voice crack. Goddamn. He said he's greenlit something else. He doesn't say we've greenlit another new project. He just says we greenlit something else, and the fact that Waller, Batman, Brave and the Bold, and Booster Gold have not reached their point yet from James Gunn. So it's most likely, in terms of TV shows, the only one that would make sense would be Paradise Lost, and the fact that Themyscira and and that whole thing and Cersei being in Creature Commandos, that would make sense. And Lenny, I know that would make you very excited because that's your most anticipated, DCU project. But in terms of movies, the only other things would be The Authority and Swamp Thing, which I can see because I remember a lot of people saying, oh, The Authority was a James Gunn passion project. I don't know about Swamp Thing. It would kind of make sense, although we haven't heard anything from James Mangold. He's just bitching and moaning on Twitter that his Dial of Destiny, his Indiana Jones movie sucked. So, it's just like he's still like dragging his feet through the mud. It's like, oh, can't wait to have you on the DCU, you fucking whiny crybaby. But it's so, if I were to say, I think Paradise Lost, I think might be the one that makes the most sense, but obviously we'll get there when we get there, but we'll see. But yeah, just like an interesting tidbit. So I don't think it's a new project. I think it's a previous project that was announced. Just
Yeah,
now it's getting
because
greenlit.
exactly. I think at one point we should make a graphic about this because I think the James Gunn scale of green litness, I'm gonna call it, is at like a 3 or 4 step process where they might announce something or generally like outside of the
Hmm.
initial announcement of the whole slate, the chapter one, part one, Gods and Monsters that he did a couple of years ago, James Gunn has never, outside of a few exceptions, like the Dynamic Duo movie, he usually doesn't announce things unless he has everything in place, the script and all. Usually, when we hear about a project like the Teen Titans movie that Anna Noguera was writing, or maybe still is, or maybe that's the one that got greenlit, those reports come in from like other outlets like Deadline or The Wrap or The Hollywood Reporter or Variety. So we sort of go off of what they're saying. And usually they're trustworthy when you go from like the big Hollywood trades, like they are well sourced. They know people at the studios, so they can, they're not gonna just feed you bullshit, right? So, with that said, however, with James Gunn, usually it seems like how the order in which things go on that scale, he will either announce it like he did a couple of years ago, or he mentioned in the next few months we might get another similar announcement. That was what he answered somebody's question on Threads recently, saying that. So it's either there, or you may skip that step entirely, and the first time you hear about it is when he says, "All right, this has been, we love the script and it's been greenlit." And
Hmm.
so, and then there's a step before that where James Gunn mentioned that, look, we will come up with what we want in the DC universe, and then we will take pitches from writers, established writers. And even then, sometimes they don't really, take hundreds of pitches. They'll be very specific about who they decide to work with. So, and he described that process in a lot of detail too, I believe. We talked about it on the show. So, um, the idea is they come up with what project's going to work and for this next phase, like say the Authority. B, they go look for writers. So until then, yes, the project sort of exists, but they could still pivot away from it because they don't have a writer. Maybe they decide that it's not going to work out. And then once the writer starts working on it, then you still have to go through James Gunn until you convince him that it's the best the script can possibly be, which obviously Waller, Booster Gold, as well as Batman Brave and the Bold, all of those projects still haven't quite gotten there yet. So James Gunn keeps saying he's just not happy with where the scripts are.
Right.
So even in that stage, it's not greenlit because again, his thing is until there's a completed script that we love, we're not green lighting anything. So once those scripts are done, then you get the green light. So like between when the project was first conceived to when it actually gets green lit could be anywhere between, I don't know, 8-9 months to a couple of years. It depends on how long it takes for them to gestate the whole thing through and up until it pops out and is born into the world of production. So until then it's not greenlit. But once it's
Right.
greenlit, then that's like really where you're like, okay, now they will allocate resources. They'll start hiring up, like maybe they'll get a director. They'll cast the project. Then they'll build the sets and then start scheduling production, and then eventually we'll get it whether it's in a movie theater or on your television screen. So we just have to kind of be cognizant of the fact that there's a whole process that goes on behind the scenes. It's not so much that James Gunn says, "Oh yes, great idea. Next thing you know is greenlit." It goes through a lot of stages of development, and it could just crash out. Like for all we know, that Teen Titans movie died on a vine. Like maybe Anna Noguera submitted a script, and James was like, "You know what? You did great on Supergirl. Just this one just doesn't work for us." So because even Supergirl, it was like a pitch that she brought to them. It wasn't like they went
Yeah.
to her asking for it because she's
I
not a
think
very
it
established
was. I
writer.
think
So
she was the writer of what was going to be Sasha Calle's
Kaya,
Supergirl movie.
yes, right. So I
So
mean,
I
it
think that
works. The
was the
pitch
case. I think
works.
he
Yeah.
brought her over and he's like, you know what, this is good, but you got to make it for my new DCU. She's like, bet. Do I still got a job? Cool, awesome. I'll take that. I'll take that.
Yep.
So, you know.
Yep. And you know what? It's great she took advantage of an opportunity, and to be quite
Oh yeah,
frank,
I forgot the Bane and Deathstroke movie. I keep forgetting that's a thing.
but that's another one of
That's
those
still
things where
not.
James Gunn has never
Yeah.
mentioned it officially. So, whereas Paradise Lost, he has mentioned that was part of the initial announcement, but we don't know yet if it's greenlit. Anytime he's been asked, the closest thing that we have heard from him is that they're still working on it, but he hasn't told us anything beyond that. Like we don't know if they're working on scripts, if they're still hiring writers, if they have a showrunner. Like because for a TV show, which this will be a TV show for Paradise Lost, you would expect to put together a writer's room, and then you would need to have an executive producer, a
Hmm.
showrunner, like what they have for Lantern. So there's a few more people involved than even what you have usually for a movie, where you have maybe have one or two person writing the script. So and then that Wonder Woman movie, that's gonna be tricky. I don't think we're getting a Wonder Woman movie anytime soon,
Yeah, I don't think
unless
so either.
the only way that I feel like we're gonna get a Wonder Woman in the next 3 to 5 years is if Gal Gadot is gonna continue in the role. I think if they decide to recast, then James Gunn, what he's trying to do with his whole
Yeah.
approach to world building as opposed to story building is they want to have a situation where they're not leaning on the Trinity for the universe to survive. Like the Trinity will be like in the early days the cherry
Even
on
though they have
top.
2/3 of confirmed projects being, well, technically
It's
three if we're counting Paradise Lost, but you know,
but still, but you see my point though, right? Like when you look compare that to the DCEU or even the larger history of DC on the big screen, it's Superman, Batman, Batman, Superman, Superman, Batman, and then in the DCEU, the second by the time we got to the second movie, the whole Trinity was there, and then the next movie that came out after that was Wonder Woman, the solo movie, and then we got Justice League, and all three of them were back together again. So they really
right?
leaned heavily into that, and I think to almost to the to the detriment of some of the other characters, because then people were like, oh well, I mean, of course there was other issues like Ezra Miller of the Flash,
Lots of issues.
but and the pandemic really derailed a lot of things, but that said, I think the approach that they have now, where Superman is obviously going to lead the charge, but Batman may still be a few years away, and we're not going to get a Wonder Woman for a while, at least not a solo movie. They want to build up these other characters, these some lesser known characters, but also some other characters that have a lot of potential that have been underutilized, like the Lanterns. And then, when you bring in Batman and Superman, it's all like, woman, I am the cavalry kind of moment, like from the Fast and the Furious movies. So I do like that approach because we know that Batman is always going to sell. The Robert Pattinson Batman is still hanging about, so there's no need to rush that project. And it clearly looks like James Gunn doesn't yet have a script there that he quite agrees with. So they're
Hmm.
still workshopping it. But yes, I mean, great question, Lenny, and great point about Paradise Lost. We haven't really heard much about it, and all we know is they're working on it. What they're working on exactly, we don't know yet. That's we'll find out eventually. Maybe that will be part of the announcement in the next few months when James Gunn decides to give us more of an insight into all of those things that have been greenlit in the last few months, such as the one that you see on screen, the one that he can't talk about yet. So maybe it's something related to Creature Commandos, and then by the end of this Creature Commandos series, he'll be able to reveal it because otherwise it will be a spoiler. So
Hmm.
like you got to think about it that way. And yeah, I mean, Hosea XCI, like, yes, we all hope that Bane and Deathstroke movie is a real thing because it would be amazing, and it would be probably like incredibly great action, and hopefully it feels like you brought the John Wick universe into the DCU. So I would love to see that. Um, Ron saying, I think Wonder Woman as a child will come in the last episode of the Amazon show, which would
That could be
lead to a Wonder
interesting.
Woman movie. That's the obvious choice in terms of like where you go creatively, and it also assumes that the Paradise Lost will be a one season show. I don't think that's where they're going with it
I don't
because
think that's where they're going with it either. I think they're just gonna
yeah,
have. I think they're just gonna set up various things that'll like pay off later, but also like set the ground for like way before the events of like the official start and all that shit. It's just like sometimes prequelitis is like a little annoying. It's like, oh, we have to set up like all the things that make Wonder Woman famous. And it's just like, I hope it's not that kind of show. I just hope it
yeah.
exists on its own 2 feet.
No, but yes, but that's why they've set it to be like 1,000 years in the past. So I
Yeah.
think like that's the whole reason why, right? Like otherwise, because that gives them like the freedom to. It's kind of like you do anything about the old Republic, you don't need to tie it into the Skywalkers, right? So
Same with Dune Prophecy. That's what they're
yes,
doing. Although I have heard the show is not very good, but
not nearly as good as the movies. And good question from Lenny though, like about Disney Marvel. What does their development stage look like, and do they hear a pitch and greenlight it? I think this is where James Gunn has been pretty pointed. He has said as much that hey, look, at least if you go off of what he has said, the implication is that sometimes Marvel does greenlight a project without a finished script, or maybe a lot of the times they do. And you know what? Marvel is such a machine at this point that most of the time it ends up working out. Because and Kevin Feige is obviously overseeing everything. But we do end up with then situations where like the Blade. debacle, or what's been going on in Phase 4 of the MCU, and even Phase 5 so far isn't particularly impressive. So it does lead to sometimes a quantity over quality issue, and at the same time you're not getting that consistency of quality. So that's really what James Gunn is talking about. Is, I mean, I'm not saying they don't go to a development stage. A lot of the projects that Marvel greenlights, they have people working on them. It's not like they have no words on the page and no script in hand and it's greenlit. But Marvel does do something that James Gunn will avoid, which is, and having been in the Marvel side of things, he knows what goes on over there. And his implication was they like to do those, like, big announcements with a whole timeline of projects, and then they usually deliver. It's they don't usually miss their release dates. Of course, the last few years with the pandemic and then the strikes in Hollywood, things have been getting pushed. Like Captain America 4 got moved from this year to next year. Blade will never come out. But like there's things like that do happen. But yeah, and Marvel definitely is guilty of sort of announcing things to build up hype, and then sort of like working back to figuring out the script and the details, and because we know Captain America 4 was reshot so many times to the point where they completely changed the movie. Like, what's his name? The like Esposito one.
Sidewinder, Giancarlo Esposito.
Yes, Giancarlo Esposito. He wasn't even in the original movie. Like they changed the movie so much, and from the looks of the trailers, he's like probably the main villain of the film. So like those kind of things happen. Whereas what James Gunn is looking to avoid is spending 150 million dollars shooting a movie, then going back and spending another 150 dollars reshooting it, or like what happened with the Zack Snyder Justice League movie, where they ended up reshooting 70% of it because the studio notes and with everything that happened with the 2017 version, and then they gave another 70 million to Zack Snyder. If you look at the accounting for that whole project, it was probably
somebody
cost
was
them
doing
$500 million.
some money laundering or embezzlement or something like that, because that's not $70 million worth. Definitely not. You can make an entire other movie for $70 million. It's like, bro did not need that much, but I bet he was like, you know what, you guys fucked me over, give me 70 million. And they're like, all right.
Yeah, I mean, though, like you look at the visual effects, the thousands of visual effects that they added into that movie, the fact that they had to do a completely different version of Steppenwolf, and I mean, those VFX were impressive.
I still need to watch it. I do want to see it. I think I'm going to wait until the entire season is out before I fully watch it.
I mean, there's a lot of shows out there that start off slow and pick up.
Yeah, of course.
Like, famously, Star Trek: The Next Generation is really rough in the early goings, but then it gets better.
Season 1 is pretty bad. It is.
And then even The Office, dude, The Office season 1 is cringy, and then season 2 you start to like it's the American Office.
Because they like started to like have their own identity than just trying to copy.
Like literally, they were taking the scripts from the British Office and remaking them in the first season. Yeah. But right, so to address that question again, Lenny, yes, I do believe they have. Marvel does have a development process. Things don't work exactly the same, which is why James Gunn has iterated on many occasions that he would like for DC studios to do things differently. Which is why I think for us to expect them to put out like a big graphic with a timeline and like you got Superman in 2025, and then you got Supergirl in 2026, and an unannounced project after Lanterns in 2026, like. As much as we would like to do that, I think it's unlikely we'll get to see something like that, because then he's, that would be pretty hypocritical of him to kind of like say we don't do things that way and then put it out there. And that's also probably the reason why we likely won't, at least not in the near future, be in a situation where we know what DC movie is coming out in the DCU 5-6 years from now. Because naturally, if you're not going to greenlight something until it's got a finished script, you probably don't know like release date for a movie more than a couple of years out in advance, right? Like that's how long it would take for you to then put it into production, get it through post-production, market it, get it out into the cinemas. So I think there's got to be like a reset on our expectations, because we're so used to the way Marvel does things. And that's an uphill battle, because that's become the default expectations over the years. And that's what Warner Brothers tried to replicate. But famously that Comic-Con slate that they put out in 2016, and we know that most of those projects never happened. Some of them took like an extra 10 years, and that Green Lanterns project eventually morphed into the lanterns that we're getting in the DCU. So there's definitely, like said, the downside to doing it that way, and even Marvel, with all its success, has not had a perfect track record. So hopefully over time things will become more clear with James Gunn's approach. But so far we know that they don't greenlight anything until the script is ready. So now that I've ended that rant, John, I think that's about it for the show, right? Like we got through. I mean, you guys have been fantastic. I don't know. I think we're out of things to talk about. Like it's been like an
Yeah.
hour and a half, Lenny. Like we told you we will be here for a while. So, um, I guess we have been. And if you joined us late, then be kind and rewind, as we always like to say.
Mhm.
Supergirl and Lobo, that was the main story. I mean, we didn't spend as much time on it as I thought we would, but yeah, look, we've talked about it many a times. Like the rumors abound that Lobo may be in Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, whether you get it from My Time to Shine or whichever other scooper. There's no guarantee. I'm still telling you, there's no, like, just people just temper your expectations until we know for sure. James Gunn has not said this. Jason Momoa has not said this. Yes, he would make a perfect Lobo, but there is no guarantee Jason Momoa is gonna be Lobo in the DCU. It's very possible that he wants to be, and then scheduling conflicts, right? Like he's a busy man, and if it's down to just making a cameo, you can easily do a headless cameo. Like Supergirl's like eating lunch with her friends in a cosmic cafeteria, and then Lobo walks over with a tray, and we just get just the shoulder down shot, like and it's a headless Lobo cameo. That could happen. I
Yeah.
wouldn't mind seeing that. So, but with that in mind, guys, let us know in the comments what you think. Do you think Lobo is gonna be in Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow? We have heard the rumor many a times. The movie's about to go into production in a few months, or actually, like probably not even in a few weeks, maybe. So,
Yeah.
yes,
They said January.
yeah,
I don't think they
January.
specifically
So,
said any date yet, but
I mean, we're getting super close. Now we're only like a few weeks
we're
out.
getting
So like
super close
to Superman coming out too. And Supergirl, of course, it's closer to Supergirl because that's still 2026. But like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, tickle it if you like, and that way you know when we are live. We appreciate everybody, all the new folks that are in the chat with us. And if you're joining us for the first time in the live show, then of course, as you know, this is the experience. And too bad Hugo Millie wasn't here, or else John would have smoldered for a lot longer.
I think she's done with me.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think Hugo had enough. Yeah. And on that note, we will wrap it up for the day. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode of DCU Daily. They will be back 5 days a week as we are usually. So again, if you're new to the channel, then expect us to be here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We take the weekends off. Unless there's breaking news or like something big like a Comic-Con going on. And then of course this week we are looking ahead to Kraven the Hunter. Maybe Morbius will make a cameo in that movie. So we'll review a movie on Also Curious times DCU Daily. We'll have Liz on the show this week as well, John. And yeah, until next time, guys, go out there, watch something DC related. Maybe watch Morbius 7. I hear it's the one where he kills God. Part of the Morbius cinematic universe, which also spells out as MCU. So like, but it's a different kind of MCU. But we'll see you next time on another episode of the DCU Daily.